Tonight, the FBI is warning of cyber attacks on government and private entities here in the United States. And today, the president said the U.S. is ready to respond.
If Russia pursues cyber attacks against our companies, our critical infrastructure, we are prepared to respond. For months, we've been working closely with the private sector to harden their cyber defenses, sharpen our ability to respond to Russian cyber attacks as well.
Nearly a year after a Russia-based ransomware attack on the largest fuel pipeline in the U.S., a top U.S. senator is warning Russia cyber attacks could trigger a much bigger war. Virginia Democrat Mark Warner telling Axios, quote, Putin's been pretty clear that one of the first tools he would use to bring economic harm to NATO and America is cyber, adding that all the hypothetical conversations about what will constitute an act of war suddenly get very real.
For more now, we're joined by Mark Montgomery, Senior Director of Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Center on Cyber and Technology Innovation. Mark, welcome. Americans, as you well know, are already seeing turmoil on the stock market, and they've been told to expect a surge in fuel prices as the United States slaps more sanctions on Russia. Mark, how likely is it that we could see another cyber attack on the homeland like the one we saw last year on the Colonial Pipeline?
Well, first, thank you for having me. And, you're exactly right to zero in on that issue. I think it's very likely that Russia, in response to U.S. sanctions, particularly if they're effective against their financial services and energy sectors, is going to attempt to impose cost on our financial services and energy sectors. And of course, they can't do that through their own sanctions. They don't have the allies to do that with them, and they don't have the leverage. They'll have to use malicious cyber activity. And as you pointed out, just about a year ago, they demonstrated some of their capability to do that with both ransomware and also with the SolarWinds attack.
Yeah. The co-chair of the Cybersecurity Caucus in Congress, Senator Mark Warner, who we just heard from, is warning of the threat of a possible spillover of a Russian cyber attack on Ukraine that then would infiltrate the U.S. and NATO countries. How possible is that, and could a major cyber attack lead to a much bigger war, as Warner was suggesting?
Senator Warner is correct. In 2017, when the Russians conducted the NotPetya attack against Ukraine, it spilled over into Europe. It took down Maersk, the shipping liner, Merck, pharmaceutical, Mondelez, a candy producer, and also FedEx's European subsidiary. So significant billions of dollars worth of damage kind of event. If Putin were to go after just European targets, Western European targets, the interconnectivity with the United States system is such that it's highly likely it would impact the United States as well. So we are not just vulnerable from attacks on the United States, we're vulnerable from attacks on our Western European allies as well.
Some extraordinary reporting today, Mark, from NBC News that President Biden had been presented with options for offensive cyber attacks against Russia, targeting power, internet, trains, and railroads. Mark, I'm so sorry. If that reporting is true, this would be unprecedented.
So I do think, there's three legs to the stool. One, you defend yourself. Two, you kind of work together, collaborate with allies and partners in the private sector to do a collective defense. And then three, you do maintain a cost imposition capability, and that's those offensive cyber tools. So we should have those tools. I think the president probably took the right step here in limiting himself to sanctions for this level. Now, whether those are the right sanctions or not, people can debate. But I think sanctions were the right response here. I think offensive cyber tools might have started an escalatory regime that we don't want to be in yet. Now, we should reserve the right to use them. And if we're attacked in our critical infrastructure, I fully expect us to use both cyber and non-cyber tools to respond to any Russian aggression.
All right, Mark Montgomery with FDD. Good to have you this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.